So what if the greatest sin of Christianity, indeed the greatest sin of humanity, it's not just Christianity, but the greatest sin of Christianity as a religion, as an institution, as part of a society that doesn't honor, respect, and love and care for the planet and nurture the planet. In fact, it leaves a worse planet, or it leaves a planet in worse conditions than it was encountered upon at the beginning, at the founding of the life, its own life, of the institution, of the religion, of the society, or at its inception. At the end of its inception, at the end of its creation, at the end of its life, it should leave a better life or better conditions on this planet than it encountered at the beginning. And is that the case? Clearly it isn't. Why is that the case, that it's not the case? What case? I mean, why is it that Christianity hasn't left a better world for future generations? Why is it that most Christians have not participated in creating and leaving a world which is better for future generations? What do you mean exactly, Sir Andrew, by better? I'm glad you asked. Well, better can be defined as simply more good, less bad. Okay? Otherwise, it would be worse. More good, less bad is better. So, what is good and what is bad? Well, that which is life enhancing is good, that which is life diminishing is bad. We could simplify it as that. So, if something leads to greater health, then it is life enhancing. If something leads to worse health, then it is life diminishing. So we can separate that between good and bad, that which is life enhancing in a way which is long term, not short term, which is global, non-specific. So it can be life enhancing specifically and individually, and also life enhancing globally and collectively. So it is greater in space and time than just one individual self. Because if life enhancing just for me causes a life diminishing for others, that is not truly life enhancing. Or if it is life enhancing for this generation but is not for future generations, it's life diminishing for future generations, then that is not life enhancing. Therefore, it cannot be considered as good. So, we need to be aware that the impact of our actions has an effect on our actions and consequences. The impact of the consequences of our actions shows up especially for future generations, in our children's lives and in our children's children's lives, and in multiple generations from us onwards. The impact of the consequence of our actions isn't felt so much by our generation as it is by the next generation and all future generations. And I'll give you an example. Some time ago, human beings began washing dishes with poison, with toxic chemicals. If you go back in time, even just 200 years, it's not that long ago. There's only the life of two old people in 200 years. One person lives another 100 years, another person lives another 100 years. You have two long lives of two human beings. That's 200 years. So, anyway, several generations back, people didn't use poison to wash their clothes, and yet they wash their clothes. People didn't use poisonous, toxic chemicals to wash their clothes or their dishes or themselves, and yet they still did wash. And the level of poison and the toxicity going into the water, the damage done to the waterways and to the organisms in the water, it just wasn't happening. But now it is. Not only that, I've been to visit many people. I've stayed in hundreds of people's houses. I've been a guest in hundreds of people's houses. And unfortunately, it's very sad to say, across all of the 6 continents I've visited, people use toxic poisonous chemicals to wash their clothes, to wash their house, to wash the clothes of their children. The dishes that their children eat off, they are using toxic chemicals. The water that comes from the tap, where does it come from? It's come from rain, it's come from ground, it's come from above and below, and everywhere that those toxic chemicals run gets affected. So how can one not think about that? How can that be detached from the consequence of our actions? And if we're truly doing a spiritual service to humanity, as a good religion should and would and must, then we must let our congregation know that they must take good care of the planet. Otherwise, it's not doing a good job spiritually. Because here's the thing. If I was God and you'd spent a lifetime poisoning the water, and when you die, you and I meet, I'm going to be pretty mad, because water is life. Same thing as if you've been poisoning the air or the land, and I'm God. So if you believe in God, and you know that you're going to meet God face to face when you die, and you will have to acknowledge the impact of the consequences of your actions, apparently one can't use in one's defense, oh, I didn't know, oh, I was ignorant. And if you could up until now that you've seen this video, you can't. You know you're going to meet the maker of the water and the air and the lands. And the maker of the water and the air and the lands, if you've caused damage to the water and the air and the lands, they're going to be, if it was a combination, what I mean by that is, God the Creator, in order to create matter, matter needs to exist. And for matter to exist, Father and Mother come together as one. Spirit and matter join, and that is what life is. Just like you and me. I'm breathing. That proves that I'm spirit. Because spirit, respiration, spirit, inspiration, spirit inside me is where inspiration comes from, as well as respiration. It just means spirit, to breathe. So you are inspiring or inspiriting. You are alive. You are animated. The word anima means soul. So you have in Latin, you have a soul. It also means to make come to life, to animate. You have been made to come alive by the breath of the Spirit which is within you, which inhabits you in your body. It is in matter. You are a material body with a spirit. You are spirit. That is your true essence. And once that true essence is gone from the body, the matter turns into what all other matter is made of: particles and energy. And it is transformed from a living human being into a living other form of being. Because you and I, whether our bodies burn or they fall into the earth and become one with the earth, we all end up back as a transformed or changed form. The form is different. So it might become a plant. It might become the tree behind me. It might become an animal, a bird, an insect. It might become everything. Well, it does. Well, how do I know it has become that? Well, because let's say my body becomes nutrient for the soil, and the soil provides nutrients to the plant, and the plant produces a fruit, and the insect or the bird partake of the flesh of the fruit. They eat from the tree. Therefore, I, in my body transforming into nutrients for the plant, have then transformed into nutrients for the bird. Then the bird becomes eaten by a larger predator. Then I go into that. And the cycle of life goes on and on and on. The predator then becomes earth, then plant, then the prey which eats the plant. is filled by the bird or the predator or the human. We're all one. And without one form of life, another form of life could not exist. And this is where Christianity got it all wrong. It said, God, Heavenly Father, you are the only thing that matters and nothing else matters. Well, it's not exactly what it said, but one would think it is the only thing it said about caring for God's creations, because it should be acknowledged that everything that is created by God is a part of God. It is sacred, it is divine, including the very mother which nurtures us. And some people would say, well, that's sacrilege, that's paganistic to believe that the earth is the mother. Well, it's in the word matter, mater, actually means mother. So yes, she is our mother, and Heavenly Father and Mother are how we exist, by the union of the Divine Father and the Divine Mother. And so Christianity forgot to mention this, but actually not only Christianity, all of the world's main religions forgot to mention that we must care for the planet. It's interesting that the indigenous peoples always got this and knew this, and they were seen as savages, worshipping demons or the devil. Maybe they just understood some other stuff. It didn't make anyone wrong. It may be a more collective version of bring them together. So Heavenly Father is the creator of the universe. Okay? Fine. That's all well and good. And our job as creations of Heavenly Father, of God the Father, is to honor all of his creations. First and foremost, that which gives us life, which is, of course, as mentioned, honor one's mother and father, not just the human mother and father, but the divine mother and father, the divinity that is within the divine mother and the divine father, our spiritual ancestors, our spiritual teachers. And it doesn't necessarily mean that one excludes the other. It doesn't have to be or. It can be and. So it can be that our job is to bring other people closer to the most important spiritual teachings. And that also includes caring for the planet, because if we are not leaving a better world for future generations, we are not imbibing and we are not living by the greatest of spiritual teachings, which is to love life and to honor life itself. So honoring life means multiple things. It means doing the best you can to do the best you can. It means acknowledging and seeing and admitting one's own faults and failures and shortcomings and mistakes, and knowing between oneself and God that these mistakes, faults, errors, incorrect activity, incorrect perception need to be corrected, need to be fixed, need to be set straight, need to be put in the right place. And that means to stop making mistakes or to stop sinning, because making mistakes and sinning, they're actually quite similar. When one makes a mistake, well, that's human, but when one keeps on repeating those mistakes, that can be diabolic. Or diabolical, evil even, sinful to keep on making mistakes when one knows it's not right and not good. So if you know it's bad and you keep on doing it, or if I know it's bad and I keep on doing it, well, I keep on making that same mistake. Therefore, I keep on sinning. Okay, good, then stop it. Oh, but it's not that easy, Sir Andrew. I get it. Yeah, I've been there. It's not easy sometimes to change our ways. It's not easy always to change behaviors. It's not always easy to see that which we don't want to see. It's not always easy to admit our faults and our shortcomings, especially when it's uncomfortable to do so. Okay, fine. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. I mean, I've got things that I need to change in my life. You've got things you need to change in your life. Unless you've already changed them all. In which case, good for you. Go and help other people to do it too. And maybe that's something that you need to change in your life. If you're not doing that enough yet, if your life isn't about helping others improve their lives, then, well, that's something that obviously needs to change. Because, you see, you're going to die one day. And before you die, when you get old, and if you don't believe me, one thing you could do is go and talk to let's say old dying people. Because, maybe with young dying people, it could be a very different set of circumstances and situation. There will be some similarities, but certainly with older people, generally they've lived long enough to realize, I could have at some point done some different things in another way, and I would have produced different results, which would have led to different consequences and effects. And when one looks back on one's life. So imagine being old and knowing that you're about to die. You're looking back on your life, and I do the same thing. I look back and I think, I don't want to look back and have any regrets. I do not want to look back on my life and wish that I'd done things differently. So I do want to look back on my life and be proud of myself. I do want to look back on my life and say, good on you, Sir Andrew. You did the best you could to do the best you could to leave the world a better place, a better place for as many human beings as possible. And this is something where I believe modern society is failing. And the representatives of modern society are failing in sharing this message. So who are these representatives of modern society? Well, they're people like influencers. They're people like business people. They're some philanthropists. Some are already doing it. More need to. So like some entrepreneurs do and others don't, and all do. Some influencers do, others don't, and all do. And more importantly than an influencer blabbing about it, they need to be able to prove or not. No, proof doesn't matter. Nowadays with artificial intelligence, no one can prove anything. And everyone can prove everything. So, like I can make a video of my lifestyle and it could be totally fake and false and you wouldn't know at all. We don't know anymore. It could be completely fake and false. So the only way to know is to actually live that experience, possibly with that person, and verify for oneself, okay, this person really does abide by and live according to the values that they espouse or they say that they live by. So come and live with me, and you'll get the experience of verifying what a simple life one can lead and live a very good simple life. You don't need a lot. Sometimes less is more. And if a pair of shoes can last 10 years or 50 years instead of just 1 year because the fashion changes, but the earth is better because of that, of course one would do it. Because what's more important? Having fashionable shoes? And what if the new fashion became wearing clothes which are made and built to last as long as possible. That'd be pretty cool kind of fashion, which would last as long as possible because everyone is on the same boat and everyone cares about caring. And this is where the idea for caring cleaners and caring gardeners and caring tradies and caring builders, that's where it all came from. Caring cleaners who only use products which are good for the water, for example, and who actually care about the people that they're working for and working with. So if they come to your house to do some cleaning and you feel like having a chat, they're going to find time for that because they care. And they've actually chosen to do that as a profession. Just like a carer does for someone who has a disability or someone who has some other issues that are going on in their life and they need some help. Some people choose to do that as a profession, to be a carer. Well, our cleaners are interested in helping people through cleaning. Like our gardeners are interested in helping people through gardening. And if through gardening food can be made and water can be saved and the soil can be healthier and the water can be healthier and the people and the community can all be healthier, that's what caring is all about. And that our society for so long, even when religion had a much bigger part in making decisions, even when religions were involved with the decisions that corporates, large international organizations made, they still didn't say anything to these corporations and companies and the owners, often who were part of the churches, often who maybe contributed financially to the churches. They didn't actually say, hey, you need to stop damaging the planet, and we know that your company is doing activities. Spiritual people have always known this. The churches have always known this. The religious organizations have always known this, and they've turned a blind eye to this. And yet anyone who's doing spiritual activity, which is valid and good, knows that part of that must be taking care of everything in creation. Everything is sacred. And anywhere there is spiritual practice going on, and I've seen this in cults that I've been involved in other religious organizations where they would rather use plastic on a garden. I've seen this with my own eyes. Rather than using, even after someone, in this case someone we know, that you and me know. Really, Sir Andrew? Who is there that you and me know? Me! Even after I'd told them, hey, you're putting plastic on the land, which is going to break down, it's going to become part of the very food. It's going into the soil and it will become part of the food that you're creating. Maybe not this season, maybe the next, maybe in 3 seasons from now, that plastic, the particles from the plastic will be in the particles of the food that you're creating. Even after I've told them this, they still chose to go ahead. And this happened both with regards to taking care of the soil and taking care of the water. When I'd said, hey, there are alternatives to using these toxic, poisonous chemicals. So in reality, it's not just Christianity. I grew up in a mainly Christian society, and I saw this. I saw this lack of care for the land. And therefore, for the future generations. And this is something that it's always caused me a lot of grief, personal suffering, pain, sadness, anger, rage, to see this lack of care for nature. And we can change that. And we are changing that, which is good. And we need to do it faster. Yeah. Because every day that goes by is another day that's gone by. And there are lots of things that need to change, and we can change them. So I want you to get involved. So if you want me to help you change something in your world and improve the planet in some way, send me a message. You can get in touch with me through the link below. If you want to help me with my mission, my project, I've got multiple projects happening that are working towards creating a better world for future generations. And I want you to help me. So, if you can help me, good, please help me. You can contact me, connect with me, and contact me through the link. Let me know how you can help. How I can help you. And let me know if you want to help me, and we will speak and I will tell you exactly how you can help me. It will depend on your experience. It will depend on your knowledge. And even if you don't know, if you have nothing, trust me, there is a way that I can help you and that you can help me. If you feel in any way called or inspired to, in any way, even if you don't know how, make sure that we leave a better world for future generations. You feel this, there's something within you, something I've said in this video has made you recognize, yeah, I do. I am going to die. I know I'm going to die. And before I die, I do want to feel like I've actually done something. And I want to do a lot. I want to do as much as possible. And here's the other thing. If your general tendency isn't altruistic, or that being you don't really care that much about other people or the planet, that's okay. That's okay. I can understand that. It makes sense, and I can see that most people are that way. But if you are selfish, okay, so you're just interested in your own life and you want to be happy and healthy, you want to live well and die well, then that's a good reason to do it. Just from so we can apply pure logic. Okay, let's get really rational and logical, maybe even cynical. Okay, let's say I've got two areas now that I want to play with because they're similar. So let's say you don't believe in God. Okay, well, think about this. I want to play with two ideas now. One is you don't believe anything at all about God. God doesn't exist. And the other is you don't care about the planet, you don't care about other people, you don't care about nature, you don't care about living a better world for future generations. Okay, well, we'll do one and then the other. And they're actually quite similar. Well, the logical process is quite similar. So in the case you don't believe in God, well, let's just look at why it's a good idea to believe in God, even if you don't believe in God. And you can do this from a selfish perspective. This is where we connect in the selfish piece. And from a rational perspective, okay? So, don't believe in God, right? People who do believe in God, and whether you call it God or you use some other word, we could just say having faith. People who have faith in something bigger than just the meat and bones of the body, that life's over and there's nothing else. It's like I'm living, and when I stop breathing I will die, and there's nothing before or after, or there's no spirit or soul or universal consciousness which is showing up in an individualized packaged field of consciousness in my human body and with a brain and mind. So you don't believe in any of that, okay, fine. Just know this, however. People who do have some kind of faith tend, okay, so this is statistically, it's not going to, there will be exceptions, and you can even say the exceptions confirm the rule when there are exceptions, because they're a minority, usually a small minority of those exceptions to the rule. People who have true faith, and not just going through the motions and pretending, people who have true faith, actually you can know them usually because they've got that spark, and you can see it in their eyes, and you can see they've got a bit of spring in their lives. They've got true faith. They're on a mission. Okay, those kind of people tend to live longer, and they tend to be healthier, and they even tend to be happier. And you could probably go along with a whole heap of other mixes. They may not. I was just trying to think, would they be richer, depending on what they've chosen as their values. So they tend not to be very materialistic, because they realize there's more to the big picture, because they've got faith. They know that this isn't all there is. It's not just about the mind and the body. It's not just about this life here and now in this physical form. So they're not usually attached. And so again, we're talking tendencies here. Those who have a faith, a true faith, a deep faith, they're not just going through the motions, like I said. So they believe, and more than just believing as an ideological concept, they're actually living the life of a true believer or a true faith holder. Fedele would be the way of saying it in Italian, or fedeli if we're talking plural. So there's I'm just thinking faith. There's an element of loyalty as well. So they're faithful and they're loyal to that which they know to be their truth. It's not just a belief. It's they know it's their truth for them, and they tend to live healthier. They are healthier, and they live longer, and they live better, and they die better, because they know they're going to a better life. There's no more physical, if there was, pain and suffering of being in this form that we're attached to. Obviously attached to. We can't be without the physical form and have this physical life. So if that's not a reason to have faith and to believe God, I don't know what is. Being happier and healthier. So even if you're selfish, you're better off. You're better off believing. And here's the other thing, and here's where they're connected. If you're really selfish, you want to get altruistic, because people who are caring about others and caring for the planet tend to be happier and healthier. So, and guess what? People who really believe in God, especially in the bigger picture sense, they get that it's all connected. So they're also respectful to life as well, and they tend not to be wasteful. So this is where you can start to see the distinction and the difference between people who are really, really, really spiritual and those who are just connected to an idea. Because if you are truly a spiritual human being with a deep conviction to life and to love, then you must be making sure you're doing everything you can to leave a better world for future generations. And this is where most world religions have gone wrong. So you better make sure that your religious organization is doing something that makes sure that the future generations have better conditions on this planet than, say, this generation found when it came along. And I would love nothing more than to know that when I die, my kids and their kids will be breathing better, cleaner air than I was back in 1972 when I was born. And cleaner water, and the soil is of better quality. Of course, there are many other positive changes we want to make as well in society. But I think, like, if I think about what's a better world, well, what's going to be more important in 50 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 100 years' time than being able to breathe clean air and drink fresh, clean water and have good, healthy soil which provides food which is full of nutrients and nutrition. And that happens when you've got groups of people who care about the land, who care about the soil. And that usually happens especially when you've got local communities working together. And if you want to get something happening locally, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about bringing power back to the people by creating a huge network of local communities who take care of the lands in their local area, because no one is going to care. Government's not going to come along. Multinationals, mega corporations are not going to come along and care about your local community more than you and the people, the communitarians, the people, the local people who are in the community that you share. And this is where so many people are starving. They're spiritually starving because they're missing out on connection to nature, connection to land, connection to spirit, connection to other human beings. Because nowadays society, there's no space for connection to spirit. There's no connection for spirituality. There's no space for time and space for connection with land and nature. And right now it's June 2055, and we're about to come along. AI's at the beginnings, and it'll be interesting to see this video in 2035 and go, oh wow, yeah, he really saw this coming before it really hit. And I'm not the only one who knows it. Lots of people do, but a lot of people seem to have their head under the sand. We are coming up to the greatest depression, global economic crisis, and job loss or unemployment levels that we've ever seen before in humanity, greater than the Industrial Revolution. And we're going to see that. And people are going to need to grow their own food. So right now, when I'm shooting this video, this is still at the beginning stages, and we'll see. And this is me, part of me being a visionary, of seeing that we will have a network of communities which can start to put some changes which are really deeply needed in place, like telling corporations, hey, there's a song by an Australian, Javier or Rudd, R-U-D-D, called Spirit Bird, and in one of the versions of the song I've heard, there's a verse which he's added, or which wasn't on the first version that I heard of Spirit Bird, the song. There's a verse where it says, forcing governments to stand aside. Now wait a second. Forcing companies to stand aside, forcing governments to recognize the power of this tribe. There's another part in the song where he says, many hearts of a modern kind doing brand new work, same spirit by side, joining hearts and hands in ancestral twine. And I think this is where we will connect, is through our care for nature and our care for land. And this is where it doesn't matter if you're I could list all of the religions, and it's too big a list, I won't even bother. But whether it's one of the world's main four, all of them, we can unite. And so all of these divisions we've got in our society now, men versus women, or probably more accurate to say women versus men, that's the way it seems to be from my perspective. homo versus hetero, or bi versus tri, or uno. It's all these divisions. It's crazy. And it's all about who's better than who. Oh, they're bad because they're capitalistic. Oh, they're bad because they're communistic. And they're bad because they believe in that God. And they're bad because they believe in that God. And there's all these things causing division. Okay, where is the commonality? Where is the humanity? We're in the same community. We need the same water. We need the same air. We need the same soil. That's what can reconnect us. And that's where, if you want to do a real spiritual practice, so if you're part of a spiritual community which is trying to tell you this is how you live your life purpose, and you're not part of a community which is doing active work to involve the community in creating real, better, tangible, physical, you're not really doing much of a service. So do what you can to make sure you start caring for the land. Stop poisoning the water, the air. Stop being involved in practices which are not 100% transparent. Stop being involved in practices where there is one person who gets lots of wealth and power and money, and others have to do without. That's what's part of the capitalistic model. And we're not going to overthrow the capitalistic model, nor should we try and let's go for anarchy. You serious? No, we do not want anarchy. We want to keep the system, just clean it up. That's all we need to do. Just clean up the political system. So the government starts doing what is right for the land and for the people. And some people are really skeptical. Oh, that's never going to happen. It can. Once we get enough people interconnected through these small communities, and they go from a group of 10 people, that becomes 100, that becomes 1,000 people in a small local community. There's one, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. And the ways of growing and scaling these local communities, which are about creating good things happening in the local area, that is possible. It's very doable. And with modern technology, and this is the thing, it's crazy, we can actually use the modern technology to not become slaves to a bad use of modern technology, and therefore create something which, and it better grow quickly. It better grow quickly. It has to. And then, that way you've got some people and they choose to go and grow their food together and connect together. And then let's say someone invents something about what people need to do in order to be considered as decent human beings. Well, with AI, who's going to know what's true and what's not? Wow, this gets hairy to think about. Hairy and scary to think about. Wow. Things could get really complex. Wow, we really don't know how things are going to go for the future. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so this is where we really need to get back to connecting with humans. Because who's going to be governing the information which is shared? Whether it happens to be online or on through television or the internet somewhere else, or some other new form of sharing information, the virtual reality, whatever the next thing is that's coming after the internet, information will be shared, and there will be powers who will wish to manipulate the peoples. That's where can we connect to that which we know is real? Well, the land and taking care of nature. Maybe these are the things which we can get back to. Okay, this is real. Okay. So, the title of the video was Christianity's number one sin, number one error, number one mistake. Not caring about the creation, about God's creation, in the form of all of the kinds of nature, and we need to do that. So let's do it. So if you want me to help you and your local community, get in touch. If you want to help me with my local community or with the global communities, great, get in touch. Ciao for now.